Hey guys, my name is Andrew Nobolini, and today I'm going to be bringing you the top 5 reasons why young people, or millennials, are leaving the church. Now, according to a recent post by the Huffington Post, 80% of Americans don't go to church. On top of that, 4,000 to 7,000 churches close their doors every single year. And on top of that, between 2010 and 2012, nearly half of all the churches in America didn't add a single member to their congregation. And so my question is why? Right? Why is that happening? I bet you, as well as I, know people, friends, family, co-workers, that have left the church for some of the reasons that I'm going to mention. So, to give you kind of an overview, we're going to talk about 5 reasons why I believe people are leaving the church. And then we're going to counter those 5 reasons with 5 applications that we as a church body can better reach out and connect to those young people and bring them back into the church. And then lastly, I'm going to kind of visualize showing us what it would look like if we implement these 5 applications and what would happen if we didn't implement these 5 applications and we just kept going the way we're going. Alright, now before I get any further into the speech, I want to talk about my research. This is super important. Now, I grabbed a whole bunch of polls and surveys and blogs and opinions to figure out these top 5 reasons. One of the top is by barnagroup.org. They survey thousands of people before they post their research online for us to see. And so they're a very credible source. On top of that, like I already quoted Huffington Post, but I'm also going to quote Christian News. I use news outlets, I use blog posts, right, personal opinions, and then I also use my personal network by reaching pastors and just people that I've talked to, trying to figure out what are the top 5 reasons why people, young people specifically, are leaving the church. And with that, let's get into it. Number 1 reason why people are leaving the church is because of lack of trust. And this includes the fact that they believe, the people who are leaving the church believe the church is judgmental. Right? They think it's judgmental, they think it's insincere. And so for that reason, they're not able to walk into the church and trust the people in it. I feel like that's really sad. The next reason is isolationism, which simply means that the church is kind of withdrawing in itself between its 4 walls and it's not reaching the community. Right? It kind of thinks only on itself. And it's not engaging the new generation, if you will, by using media or anything like that. It's kind of just creating programs within the church and not reaching the community and doing anything for the community. Alright? Number 3 is in the church, there's no community. Right? You kind of walk in there and you may not feel as welcome, you may not feel like you can plug in because you can't. It's like you go into a church, you attend the service, and then you leave, and you're not getting anything out of it. There's no like community-oriented positions that you can just jump right into. And so we're lacking in that regard. Number 4 is openness, or really lack thereof. This one differs from lack of trust in the sense that in today's culture, there's a lot of talk about just gender, really like gays and lesbians, and addiction as well. We can add on top of that, right? Just trying to be open within the church is a real struggle for people, and therefore they're leaving the church because they feel like as soon as they open up, they're judged. And so openness kind of connects to lack of trust, but at the same time, the church isn't addressing it, and so I thought that would be a legitimate reason to put down. The 5th and final reason, and this one's really difficult to swallow, is that people find that Christianity is shallow. Right? People go into the church and they find just not passionate people. They find people that are just going through the motions, they just check Christianity off their list, and they're not passionate about sharing the gospel. And so to them, to the outsiders, Christianity seems fake. That's really unfortunate, because the gospel is one of the most important news anyone can hear. And so as the church is hindering that, because of these 5 reasons, it's having a really negative effect. And so, now I want to show you the plan of action. The 5 reasons why I think the church can kind of swoop around and engage the millennials. And this is coming from studies, again, from Barna, a lot of personal bloggers like Corey Netwolf and Billy Holloway and Frank Powell. All these people are giving their opinions on like, hey, how can we better engage the community? So here's the first one. Create a counterculture of integrity and grace. Right? Kind of there's lack of trust, so to counter lack of trust, let's create a counterculture of integrity and grace, and kind of welcome people into the church, welcome people to share their personal struggles, and kind of share their burden. Understand what Christian maturity looks like, and how we can connect with the people, right? That's super important. How can we get someone in the church, and how can we begin to get them plugged in? How can you get them to be plugged into the programs that we have? How can we connect with the community outside the four walls of our church? Be able to have difficult conversations and encourage tough questions, right? That thing about openness, how the church isn't really being open. Well, how can we better just engage those tough questions that are going to be had about addictions, about pornography, about gay and lesbian, right? How can we make that more of an enjoyable environment for those questions to come out? Number 4 is just clarity. And this is more about the preacher, right? Coming up and not just using a whole bunch of jargon, but being able to really share the gospel in a new light, in a new way, and not having to use all these super theological terms, but bringing it down real deep to the people who just walked in the doors for the first time. And then number 5, love should define the church. That seems obvious, but it's not. It's lacking. And so to put that for the forefront, to put that to be the characteristic, is a huge thing that could really turn the church in a great direction. So if that happens, if we take these 5 applications, millennials are going to stay in the church. It's obvious, right? Millennials, from a survey in Barna, they want to attend church, but they're being pushed away because of those 5 reasons mentioned earlier. So if we implement these things, they're going to stay in the church. Christianity is going to engage its culture better. Young people are going to stay better connected, and they'll continue with their faith when they leave college and continue on in their life, right? Community will be the greatest in the church. You will not find better community than in the church. I think that would be an awesome thing. And then love will be the dominant characteristic of the church. And if we don't continue these things, right, if we continue to go the way that the church has been going, I believe that millennials will continue to walk away from their faith, that churches will continue to close due to the fact that they're not growing, they're not adding members, that the church will fail to impact their culture, right, that they won't connect with the millennials, that they'll continue to be seen as irrelevant, right? People just don't want to go to church because of these reasons, because they're judged, because they can't trust the church. And then lastly, they'll continue to drive, the church will continue to drive people away from the gospel because of the obstacles or the 5 reasons that I mentioned. So in summary, we looked at 5 reasons why young people are leaving the church, and then I offered 5 reasons how we can kind of counteract that and kind of bring millennials back into the church and kind of get them plugged in and start to begin to grow their faith. So hopefully today, I've showed you some things I've pointed out, right? The 5 reasons why people are leaving the church, and those are hard things to swallow. But I'm hoping that you can grasp one of those 5 applications that I've shared, and you can really kind of see where does your church stand, or where are you personally with those, and how can we better engage the culture from which we are in, for which God put us in. So again, just to repeat my proposition in closing, even though millennials are leaving the church, we can take the necessary steps to include them back into the church and connect with those all around us. Thank you.